Babar, thank you so much for being there. I mean, we've been talking together for ages now on social media and we never find a way to catch each other. He's traveling so much too. So it's just so complicated. And finally, here we are. I'm so happy. So thank you for your time.
Happy to be here.
Can you introduce yourself for those who don't know you yet?
Yeah, so my name is Babar. I'm a sales coach. I make videos on Instagram teaching people how to sell. And then from those videos, people reach out to me asking for help. My website is called howtosell.io. Very easy to remember, very easy to go to.
The message is clear.
Yeah, the message is clear. I teach you how to sell.
That's great. The thing is, that is a very interesting point just to see that in the whole process of creating a brand, creating process, creating like the workflow of selling and everything, you are specialized in one thing, which is sales.
Yeah.
So it's like being an expert in one specific moment of the whole process. So I have a question for you, which is, can a good salesperson can sell like anything, even if the product is pretty average?
Yes. Now, just going back to that part about that whole process that you mentioned, what's very interesting is that as we step into the age of AI and robotics and all this stuff coming in, the one thing that isn't going to change is consultative selling and relationship-based selling. At some point, if you're buying a property, if you're buying something, an expensive car, you want to talk to a person. You want to talk to a human being. So if you talk about luxury, that's always going to involve a human being. Can a great salesperson even sell an average product? Yes, I believe so. But if you are a great salesperson, and what I've always done in my career is try to align myself with selling the best possible product or service that I can.
It's a long-term strategy. Like if you sell something average, people talk, so it's going to be known, and it's just not definitely something you can do for a long-term strategy, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And, you start thinking to yourself, like, why am I doing this? If you sell an average product, you're going to know inside that, okay, I could be selling something better than this.
Do you think everybody has this ethic?
But it's also,
Unfortunately.
yeah, so it's two things. It's ethics, but it's also a matter of results because you'll have better results as well. If you sell something, if you had a cure for cancer, well, how good of a salesperson do you need to be to sell that?
Yeah, sure.
Right? Like if you have a pill that can cure cancer, it sells itself.
Did you already have to deal with clients coming with an average product? And then you have to tell them that basically, I can teach you everything, I can train you like crazy, but at the end of the day, your product is not good enough?
Well, the funny thing about that is that the majority of my clients, and it's fortunate for me that they come as usually people who are very good at what they do, but they've spent so much time on getting good at what they do that they haven't been trying to learn as much how to sell it the most effectively. So you could put your attention on one of two things: developing a great product or figuring out how to sell it the best of your ability.
And don't you find that it's something that happens a lot? Like many entrepreneurs I work with, they are in the same problem, let's say, that basically they are very good at what they do, but they don't know how to sell it. Like all the marketing around it, it's just like they are artists or they are like very good at the service they provide or something, but like how to sell it, it's a complete other job. And if they are alone because it's a small company, they have to be multitasking all the time. And it's just one of the most complicated things for them to remove, like, I do the thing and now I'm just a salesperson.
Yeah.
It's just a big 100%. Psychology work for you too, I guess.
100%. And the way that I think about it is like this. You have to have two states. You have to have your thinking state and you have to have your talking state. We talked about before this podcast, okay, I need to get out of my thinking state. I need to just go on autopilot. And so when you're talking about your product or service, it doesn't need to be something that you think about. It just happens automatically. So I think developing that, and then when you're scaling up and you have other people, you need to pass that information on. You wake up, you go to work, it's 9 o'clock. By the time you blink, it's 6 o'clock, everyone's going home. And so this is where a sales coach becomes handy. This is what, founders who watch my videos, they're like, I can't do this all on my own. I need to bring somebody else in for this. And that's my niche, and my bread and butter is helping those people who have been spending all of their time. Let's say it's like a plastic surgeon or something. He's really good at his surgery, but the receptionist or whoever is taking the appointments keeps losing appointments. The salesperson, whoever is in charge of putting butts in seats, keeps losing appointments. So what is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to stop doing the surgeries to go and do that? That's where my service comes in handy.
Yeah, I love it. Definitely. So for people, like you were talking about multitasking people, like people trying to do everything by themselves. If you would have like 3 simple actions to advise, like just some basic things maybe, but that could change potentially everything.
Okay, so I'll give you a couple. The first one is, if your sales comes in through calls, take 3 random calls and review them and just try to fix one thing. Maybe it's something that the salesperson says by mistake, or maybe it's the way that they rush. Just try to fix one thing at a time. If you try to fix too many things at once, it's going to be difficult. But just taking one thing, like review 3 sales calls, get somebody else's input. You can get my input, or you can just take the information. You can take the transcript of the call, put it into AI, say, give me one thing that could be improved here, and just try to go one improvement at a time. That's one.
I love that. I think I've read something similar somewhere saying as well, like if you want to see when the change works, you have to do it one by one.
Yeah.
Because if you change everything, you don't know which change actually had an impact.
Resulted in what?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can't change too many variables at once. The next thing I would say, and this goes for every industry and every salesperson that I've talked to, this is one of the biggest mistakes in sales, is talking too much. Now we're on a podcast, so I'm talking a lot here, right? And to the point where I'll get sick of hearing my own voice at some point. But in a normal sales interaction, I prefer to just ask questions. It's like the guest outside. When I was talking to her, if you just think about, like, I wasn't saying anything. Now she'll walk away thinking like, wow, I don't remember what he said, but that Babar guy's, he's a pretty nice guy. We don't remember as much as we think, but we remember the feelings that somebody gave us. And everybody has a story and everybody wants to talk, so let them talk. So the second tip is to reduce the amount that you talk. Just ask a question, listen to the answer, and really listen and be present in the moment. That's the second tip. Third tip, I would say, is just to relax. It's just relax. If you know your product or service, you know what you sell, you know that you're good, you know that you provide a solution to a problem, just calming yourself down is...
Trust your own service or trust your own product. Yeah. It's very interesting what you said, like the point number 2. We had in the podcast someone called Josh McCartney. I told you about him. And he's a public speaking coach. And it was very interesting and it makes so much sense. Like basically all the successful people keep saying the same thing. So there is a moment maybe they're right. But you said like, just stop talking. And I've seen so much and I've heard so much, like to try to balance the fact that you are uncomfortable and not trust your own product enough or something like that, then you keep talking, justifying all the time, like why your product is the best and why they should buy it and why, instead of being like, the product is amazing, the service is amazing, we trust it enough not to have to run after you and to oversell it.
Yes.
And that's it. You want it, it's amazing. We are more than happy to work with you. You don't, it's okay.
Yeah.
So this self-confidence is just something that it's just blew my mind, the fact that you do the opposite that everybody would do spontaneously.
Yeah, and I think that, some people just have that aura, they have that charm that pulls you in. How do you develop that?
Yeah, can we do that? Or is it natural? Or is it something we can work on? No, it's a real question.
Yeah.
Because people keep talking about, like, this person had this thing, like when he entered the room, it's just like, oh, but is it something we can work on? Or you just have it or you don't have it?
Absolutely. I think it's something that you can work on. Absolutely. It's not something that you don't come out of the womb with that aura. It's something that you pick up along the way. For me, I think it comes down to silencing the mind. We have so much noise outside. We have so many things stimulating us all of the time. TikTok, Instagram. You go outside, you're driving on the motorway, billboards. Everywhere you go, there's so much information constantly coming at you. And then it's like, how many of your thoughts are your own original thoughts versus how many of them are, the environment programming you? We were talking on the elevator. The funny thing is, imagine the conversation here. You come up with questions. Let's say you use AI and then I come up with answers and I use AI. Are we really two humans talking at that point? Or is it just AI talking to AI with us as vessels, right? So the answer to your question is, absolutely, I think it can be developed, but it comes to getting to your core, getting to who you are as a person. And then that's we need a whole new podcast for that. Right? That's a whole topic.
See you next week.
But, the interesting thing is, I think that what you mentioned is like having that confidence to not have to always try to fill the silence. Like when you understand your value, you don't need to keep explaining it. That's what I was saying, is like over explaining why the customer should go with us. Why should we go with you?
Yeah. It's just about the balance. It's kind of a power balance in a way. And I've noticed that a lot, that when you keep explaining why they should buy your product or service, it's just like you lose them, basically.
You lose the frame.
Yeah.
You create a frame. So I mentioned this a lot in my videos. I talk about the frame. And the frame is basically like, whose world are we stepping into? Are we stepping into your world or are we stepping into mine? Now, if you create the dynamic that I'm going to convince you to buy my product or service, I'm going to be here trying to convince you about it, you're going to resist that. So the dynamic will become, I'm trying to convince and you're trying to resist.
Yeah.
And that's a losing. You can never win that battle. At that point, you're better off to just stop. At that point, you're just like, okay, I messed up something much earlier on. So the dynamic that you ideally want to create, especially if we're talking about luxury, because I know your brand deals all in luxury and high end. And I thought it was fascinating what you were telling me about the Four Seasons. And maybe we can talk about that in a little bit. But what you want to create is a situation that appeals to the identity of the person. So you're talking about creating desire from nothingness. Exclusivity. The people who have the most money in the world, what do they buy? They can have anything they want. So why should they buy your product or service as opposed to somebody else's? It has to appeal to exclusivity and to identity.
But this is a very interesting question, and the whole question of what is luxury and why luxury, it's like, why would we buy something that is like 10 times more expensive than something potentially similar, like about product, purely product?
You were saying about the bed space thing, like when you buy $10,000 room versus the $500 room, right? You're not even conscious to experience. Can you talk about that a little bit?
No, but we had a conversation when we prepared actually the interview, and I said, like, when you analyze the luxury markets, what's very interesting is to talk about hospitality. Then you pay for a night, like you rent a room, and you don't really enjoy it that much because you sleep most of the time. So it's interesting to see like that it's all about the experience around the main subject of the why you rent this room. That is going to matter so much that people can actually pay crazy amounts of money to live this experience. So it's you definitely don't sell anything, because at the end of the day, when they leave the hotel, they don't get anything. They just had an experience and they slept.
Yeah.
And that's it,
They wake up and they check out and then they go
and
about,
that's it.
and then they spent 10 times what they could have spent for the same exact result.
Exactly.
And that's a very interesting thing to analyze. When you think about that, you go, okay, well, why does a human being, why would they do that? It's because they see themselves as somebody who stays in the premium suite. They see themselves as that. It's the same with Uber, right? You could take a normal Uber, or you could take an Uber Black. You can take Rolls Royce, or you could take a Toyota. But it's the person's identity that makes them think, no, I'm not a person who takes a Toyota. I take a Rolls Royce, right? So when you're in luxury sales, my belief is that you have to appeal to the exclusivity and the identity of the person.
What you're selling is actually, if I well understand, and I love that, is that we absolutely don't sell a product or a service. We sell what they're going to feel while using the product or the service. Like, basically, I want this car because this is the image I want about myself, and like, this is how I want to see myself.
Yeah.
So it's actually like, it could be another podcast, the perceived value and all the things around like how to sell actually sensation to someone. So you don't sell a service or a product, you sell how they're going to feel and how they're going to see themselves while using the product, basically.
Yeah.
You just blew my mind.
No, 100%. I think it comes down to the feeling of the thing. It's how do they feel when they've bought this product or service? And what does it say about them? Another thing is, what does it say about them in the sense that, they're trying to communicate to the world, I am a person who wears Prada or whatever the case is, like.
Or Louboutins.
Or Louboutins. Yeah, I am a person who does this course of action. So these are important things. And then when you're selling to these kind of people, the best thing that you can possibly do is to understand who they're aspiring to be. So if you're in a situation where you're selling I don't know, $1 million diamonds. Person comes in. Now, somebody that can afford to buy $1 million diamond, that's not very common person. That's 0.1% of the world population. And so in their mind, they have a vision or they have an image of the person that they are. The clearer you can understand that, the more the probability increases that you can actually sell something to that person. And the funny thing is, I've met with people who sell those kind of products, and what they end up doing, the ones that are very successful, is they have to remove themselves from the salesperson role. People with a lot of money, as you know yourself, they don't like salespeople. So, sometimes they become their friends. But the ideal, the words that you hear thrown around quite a lot these days is trusted advisor. You need to be a trusted advisor. Now, that word or that phrase has two words to it. Trusted, which is very, very important, and advisor. So I trust your advice.
But I have a question for you again. Okay. I have a lot of questions for you, but it's just like the more like we have actually a list of questions, but it always happens like we start talking and then we open another door and we go this direction. But the thing is, like, we said something so interesting, like many interesting things, obviously, but that you have to remove yourself from like your role of salesperson, and I guess also to remove all the thought of everything you've learned from like your young age and all the values that are yours, just to understand what's happening in the head. So the thing is also, I guess you work a lot with your clients about finding the target, finding like the perfect client, because once you know exactly what they look like, what they think, how they live, and what they expect from a product or a service, then you can start to, how to talk to them. You can find the best way to talk to them and how to, as you said, like the trust advisor and things like that. Because like that type of client, this is what they expect and what they need, and this is how you can find a way to be in touch with them, right? So I guess it's a big baby as well when you work with your clients. Can you confirm or not that actually to find a way to talk to this person, to be the trust advisor, you need to understand them, and so you spend a lot of time with your clients, I guess, to find exactly who is the perfect client.
Oh, the client avatar. Yeah. So that's a given. I mean, you should always approach sales from a qualification frame. Not everybody is going to be right to work with you, just like not everybody is going to be right to date you. So even if I love this dating analogy, like dating and sales, they're very related. If you think about, not everybody is going to be right to date you, and not everybody is going to be right as a client, right? And the best way to get the right clients is the same approach, not to be desperate and chase them, but to try to understand, is this person going to be a good fit for me? Is this client going to be a good fit for me? So once you do, you've been in business for a while and you've been around the block, you've had clients, you've been selling your product or service for a long time, you kind of intuitively know if this person is going to be a good fit or not. And then the thing that I would say about, as you do this process more and more, it should become like second nature to be able to tell, okay, this is an ideal fit or this is not an ideal fit. You know the red flags, basically.
Yeah, obviously, after just a few years, you know if it's going to work or not. But I think the superpower is actually to be okay to say no when you know it's not going to fit. And like I had this conversation a million times with my own clients saying like, oh, I just accepted this job because and I'm like, no, I don't know. Like there is no reason that it's like the worst fit ever. It's going to be a nightmare for you to work with them, and you know it. Yes, I know, but there is no but. The thing is, at the end of the day, it's a vicious circle. If you keep saying yes to people who are not the perfect fit for you, then you're going to stay in this circle. There is a moment you have to take this decision and this risk to say like, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I think I'm not the best fit for you, but I wish you the very best, and I'm sure you'll find someone else. And then you leave this space free for the perfect client to shop.
Well, that comes down to knowing your value, and you know your value, and you don't compromise on your standards. This is what you're talking about, essentially, is compromising your standards.
Yeah, exactly.
You compromise your standards, you will pay the price for it. And you learn that lesson. I'm sure the way that you know that yourself, Manny, is that you've made that mistake yourself.
Obviously.
And it's the same with myself. You sign up somebody, you have a gut feeling, intuitively, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. And then you do it, and then you have to suffer the consequences. And look, at the end of the day, when you've done it enough times, you're like, like you said, being okay to say no. But the funny thing or the paradox about that is that when you say no to them, they're going to want it more.
Yeah, that's true. But this is when you increase your prices. And this is what I keep saying. You never say no to a client. You always say the price. And here we go.
Well, maybe that should bring us into the conversation about the price then, because that is actually the most common thing that people come to my page for is the price. When I look at the analytics, the people that, follow me, most of the followers, they come from talking about the price. And I always talk about this with my clients because most of my clients, they sell premium and high-end services themselves. And so in a sales conversation, in an interaction, there's two elements of the transaction. There's the money side, the price, what you're going to give, right? And then there's the value, what you're going to get. So what I always recommend for them to do is to take the shift off the price and put the shift of their thinking, of their conversation on the value. Because there's two ways to make the deal better for them. It's to decrease the price or to increase the value. So I would always opt for increasing the value rather than decreasing the price, because you don't do them any favors by decreasing the price. You decrease the price, now you're also making them think, wait, it might not be worth it.
Yeah. And it's possible to negotiate. So you open the door you definitely don't want to open. And it's like a vicious circle to negotiate every next steps that could happen after. Like, I mean, I started as a wedding photographer, and I can tell you that if you start saying, okay, for a discount at the beginning, everything you will have like an extra product or an extra service or an extra thing, they will try to negotiate because they know it's possible. So it's just like you open the door, you definitely don't want to open.
You don't want to open that door.
But what I potentially can do when I have a reason to do it, it's to add things.
Yes.
So I don't touch my price, but I add like hours or extra things or whatever, depending of like the potential interest for me to do that. But it's just exactly what you said. Like, I love the fact that you found the words to illustrate something I do without even thinking about it.
Without thinking about it,
So,
yeah. Now, look, there are cases, every case is different and every product or service is different. There are cases where you would give somebody a slight discount, but the way that you would do that, there's a nuance to it as well. The way, if you're going to do that, it's because they're buying, let's say, a bulk of your service. They're buying a different package, and then you do it as a favor. You always make it seem like you don't tell anybody else. I'm just going to do this behind closed doors kind of thing. You don't want to do it. You don't want to just make your reputation known for giving discounts, because I've seen this before. And what you're essentially doing when your reputation becomes about discounts is you're cashing out your future value today for pennies on the dollar.
Exactly.
So you don't want to be known as a discount offer, because then you're cashing out your brand's future reputation, right? Go to Louis Vuitton, go to any of the big brands, Dior, they don't ask for a discount, see what happens.
Deal. Let's do it.
You can wear the Meta Ray-Ban
the only thing
glasses.
I will never go back there anymore. It's just like like a store in the middle of nowhere.
After this podcast, social experiment, we go to Louis Vuitton or Gucci or Dior and ask for a discount. If I buy 2 of these bags, can I get a 10%? It's not going to work.
Actually, I would be surprised to see what could happen. And I really accept the challenge, just because I think that obviously if you are nobody and it's the first time you arrive, they would say like, this is not how it works. But for very good clients that come like several times, like you see, for example, Hermes with the Birkin, it's just a special access for those who are very, very good clients. So it's not a discount, obviously. So it's not about the money, but it's about the exclusivity, the exclusive access to certain products. So it's another way to have like a discount or something. Like you buy a lot, then you can have access to a Birkin.
Yeah.
So
but see, what they're doing in that case is they're increasing the value. They're not decreasing the price.
Yeah.
Because everything is perceived value anyway. I mean, who's to say that a Birkin costs, what does a Birkin cost? $10,000?
Oh, I wish.
$100,000, right? Well, I'm not a handbag expert, so don't quote me on that. But the point I'm making is that, like, who is to determine that? And so we all socially have to agree that money is worth anything in the first place in order for it to be worth something. If everybody just stopped agreeing that money is worth anything, you're not going to be able to do anything with it. And so that's the same for any item as well. Women, mostly women, I guess, have to agree that Birkins are worth the price tag, right?
Because it's an investment.
It's an investment,
But
right?
it's actually an investment because the price keeps increasing throughout the years.
Yeah.
So it's actually a best investment than S&P 500. Just saying.
Just say.
Just sending a message.
But what I'm saying is that is a human construct.
Of course.
That is a human construct. That is not something that's inherently valuable, meaning like if you're stranded on an island, you're not going to think, I wish I had a Birkin right now, right?
I love it. Well, you can eat it.
Yeah,
it's leather.
So the reality of the situation is like it's a very well organized, and you can say the same with Rolex. You can say the same with every like high-end, high-demand product or service. It's that they create exclusivity by making it rare and hard to get. If they were just handing them out, it wouldn't be worth anything.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I love it. We could talk about Birkins during hours. So I'm just gonna go to the next question because like time flies. Actually, it's just interesting because before we start, you were like, sorry, I'm gonna say it, but you were like having your own ritual before starting the interview. And it's just like, no, we don't have any image.
Yeah.
Like it's all about value and negotiation. But I would like to know like the small ritual or habits you personally follow to stay on top of your sales game.
Yeah.
Like
So
checking regularly, maybe.
Yeah.
Like
So I'm a big
trends on-
believer. I'm a big believer in routine, and your schedule has to be the same. Like I try to do the same things at the same times every single day. I think that reduces a lot of anxiety straight away. And when it comes to, let's say, if you're talking about in actual preparation for a sales conversation, for a sales interaction, then the first thing that I like to do is just moments of silence. Like just have a moment of silence to myself and really try to understand. And I mentioned this to you before, like I'll say it again, is that I always think of it like I'm in a simulation. I'm in a game, right? And I'm not attached to the outcome of the game. And the funny thing is that when you become attached to the outcome, like I need the sale to happen, I need this to work, you push it away. The reverse is also true. When you go into the interaction and you're like, okay, well, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm going to do my best to be of service. And I always say this, that selling is serving and serving is selling. I'm just going to come in from a place of service and really try to understand the person in front of me, do my best to help them solve their problem, get the outcome that they want. And then if they want to go ahead, that's great. And if they don't want to go ahead, that's fine. So detaching myself from the outcome is the answer.
I think Alex Hormozy said, because I'm reading all his books at the moment, but he said something like, the one who has the power in the conversation is the one who like not doesn't care, but the one with no pressure, like the one who doesn't want to sell anything. Yeah. And that is so true. And this is exactly what you said before, that basically when you try to unsell, like you don't want to sell to them, like you say no, because it's not a good fit or for any reason, they want you even more. So you have the power actually, because you are the one being like with less pressure, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting. And it's a very good test to do actually for maybe the next sale you have, just to try to unsell and see how it works and how people react in front. You could be very surprised. It's a true
they might
story.
just agree and walk away. You shouldn't buy this. Okay. Walk away. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's the person who's the most calm has the most power in the dynamic. The person who doesn't really care. I mean, and it's not that you don't care. You care about delivering the service, but you don't care if the person buys or doesn't buy, meaning you're not taking it personally. I see so many people who take it personally, and that's a big mistake.
And it can ruin your entire confidence, I guess, for the next sales. And have you seen some people like that in your clients already, where they were like in a very good direction, everything worked well, and then one bad sale, like one fail, ruined their entire confidence, and it was so hard to come back and for them to feel confident again for the next sales? Like just one sale can ruin like an entire experience.
Yeah, I've seen it happen, but they have me in their corner, so it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah,
that's the actual truth.
Yeah, that is actually always one of the millions reasons why it's interesting to work with a coach. Like it's just instead of having one failure and you are like
to derail you, you
dead.
have somebody with you. Yeah,
to have someone behind 100%. Your back and say like, it's okay, it's normal. I'll
tell you a funny story. There was a situation where the owner of the company was doing everything. He had a couple of people. They sold. I'm not going to say what they sold, but they sold commercial equipment. Okay. And he had people working for him in a warehouse. And the people in the warehouse, they were not salespeople. Two people, from the warehouse, they started selling on his behalf. He was like, oh, you watch my videos? He was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get these guys to start selling. So we started doing sales meetings every week. We started implementing some of the processes and all of that stuff. And when I looked at the two guys, I was like, oh, he's definitely going to do really well. And the other one, I don't know about him. The funny thing is, it ended up being completely the opposite. The one I thought wasn't going to do well, he smashed it. He became the best seller. The other guy, he struggled a little bit because of that. And I'll tell you what it is. It's because overthinking. The first guy, he just executed everything I said like a robot. I said that to him before. Do it like a robot. Just execute my orders like a robot. Don't think, just do it. That's what he did. The other guy, he thought too much about it. He was thinking too much. He was executing as well. Don't get me wrong. He still got good results as well. But the problem is that he would think so much. Like if somebody said no to him, or if somebody ghosted him, if somebody didn't reply to him, he'd come to me and he'd be like, well, why isn't he replying? What should I do next? Blah, blah, blah. It's just too much thinking, So I think it comes down to what I said before, getting to your own core and getting out of your own head. So even that ritual that you're talking about at the start, what I do, it's to get out of your own head, because we have these two modes. We have this talking mode, and then we have thinking mode. Talking mode is more so on the execution side. So you're just executing blindly. Keep executing. Don't think too much. Don't take things personally. That's my thought on the subject, is that sometimes you can get too much in your own head and you end up dead.
Yeah, and I think you said something I love saying all the time. I say like, trust the fuck beep process.
What is it?
Trust the beep process.
Okay.
It's just when you hire someone to train, it's
Yeah.
just like stop thinking, just apply, and it does change everything. And I'm sure 100% you have the same thing, which is all the successful people you work with, it's because they just stop thinking and just follow the process.
Yeah.
And as you said, exactly, like those who are like, yes, but I don't know, like maybe it doesn't work with me, but I'm not that type of person, like just stop it and just do it. So I amen, it's just like something I keep saying all the time. So I have an ultimate question, because the problem is like, I know we could talk during hours.
We could just talk forever.
Well, like, do we have like a 40-hour channel on YouTube?
Okay.
But we have like to finish soon. I just have the very last question. Last question.
Okay.
If an entrepreneur were to ask you, what's one thing I must start doing this week to improve myself? Just one thing. What would you tell them?
One thing.
Yes.
I would say focus on diagnosing the problem. Think about it like a doctor. Focus on the problem. The person who understands the problem the most is going to win. Now, sometimes the problem isn't really a problem. Like if we're talking about luxury, it's not a problem that you're solving, but still there is something in there to be discovered. Say the person sees themselves as, I don't know, like you'd ask a question like, who is your idol? Who is somebody that you look up to, right? Now, you don't ask it as directly as that, but I'm aware of the time. So I'm just saying, like, you want to understand the archetype of person that they see themselves as, then find a way to make your product or service fit that archetype. That's it. So going back to the piece of advice, if you want to focus on any part of the entire sales process, I would say if you could only pick one to focus on, pick the diagnosis part. Just understand. Because if you walk into a doctor's office and the doctor gave you a pill, it's like as soon as you walked in, they're like, oh, this is your pill. I'm like, wait, you don't even know what's wrong with me. You haven't even asked me a single question. You'd stay away from that doctor. You'd be like, okay, I'm scared of this now. But if the person really tries to understand you, okay, what's the problem? How long has that been going on? Let me check okay. Oh yeah, I know exactly. Okay, boom, here's the thing. You have more confidence because he tried to understand you. So that's my one piece of advice to any entrepreneur. Try to understand the person in front of you more. Or if you have salespeople, just teach them to focus on the other person. Don't be thinking about what you have to say next, because we all get that, right? We all get this kind of self-centeredness where like, oh, when he finishes talking or when she finishes talking, I'm going to say this. I'm going to use this line. And it's like, stop.
The power of silence. You just experimented live. No, but that is actually, you said something I would like to come back on. You said listen to the person and just see how your product can fit, like how you can adapt potentially, and how you can, instead of doing the opposite, like you have your product and then you try to find someone who's going to like it, you know? So I really like this way of seeing the relationship between the client and the product.
Who do you look up to?
Like what?
Like in your, like, is it like, do you have somebody like when you were younger, or maybe even now, that you're like a celebrity, like Beyonce or something, like, or, you know, is there somebody, Celine Dion, or
Why Celine Dion?
I just randomly pick someone.
That is a very good question. Can I say someone like marketing?
Anybody, yeah.
Like lately I'm reading all his books, so I would say Alex Hormozy.
Yeah. And you bought his books.
Yes, obviously. And and the entire book is like a lot of colors. It's ridiculous. It's a rainbow.
Yeah. So that's, you know, it's interesting. We buy things from people who we aspire towards, right? Or let's say, if you see, I mean, sure, it's happened to you in your life. If you liked, let's say, Beyonce, for example, and you see her sporting a certain handbag or a pair of heels or something, and then you buy the same just because you want to be like her, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm talking about when I say sell to the identity of the person.
Yeah, it's more complicated to sell me a strap to put on my nose.
On your nose, yeah. But if you walked in with that today, if you walked in with the nose strap,
like,
I'd be like,
okay.
You know what? She's dedicated to the cause.
Definitely not that much. Definitely not. Thank you so much. It was like so interesting. It's actually very frustrating because I feel like we could talk during hours. Like we opened so many doors, you know, and it's just like, oh, I want to talk more about this, but you said, okay, but it's just an hour, you know, so we have to stop there. We will have to do another one and another one and another one. So it will be a pleasure to welcome you again.
No, and thank you so much for having me.
It's a pure pleasure. Thank you for sharing all these tips. I see you very soon, guys. Of course, you have all the information in the description if you want to discover his work. If you don't know him yet, like, shame on you. And see you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.